and FM 92.3 KWRZ Canyonville. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. We're setting up shop, so pop open the cooler, pull up a seat.
Who wants to have some fun?
Let's talk some pigskin. From the Score Sports Closet, it's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show.
Welcome in, everybody, here on this Friday, January 17th. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show presented by BTB Moving. Along with Knight Jarecki, I'm Joey Keeran. How you doing, everybody? Welcome into the program here on this kind of dreary and gray Friday for you here.
Hey, it's going to get gradually more sunny as the day goes on. That's the term that NOAA uses.
Okay.
Gradually more sunny.
Are you sure that's exactly how they put it?
It's what they give me, according to our meteorologist.
They say it's going to get gradually more sunny.
What does that mean?
Are you sure it says more sunny, or does it just say it's going to be gradually sunny?
Gradually more sunny.
They put the more in there? That
Yes.
doesn't feel grammatically correct.
No?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
I don't know. I guess maybe it's going to gradually do something, so it's going to take time. But what's it going to do? It's going to get more sunny. I guess maybe. I don't know. You're hitting me with way too many things on 3 hours of sleep here today,
right?
So.
But if it's gray outside, how is it going to gradually become more sunny if it wasn't sunny to begin with?
Well, I mean, if you have zero sun and then you have some sun, it has gradually gotten more sunny. If you start at nothing, anything beyond that is going to be more. So.
Wow. What a start to this program.
Breaking down the finer points of the National Weather Service and their reports for you here. Welcome in. Hopefully your day is off and rolling on a Friday. Just going smooth for you here. It was a late night for yours truly last night. I was at the, we're a football program. That's what we're here to do is talk some football. It's what we like to do. But, we can sprinkle in some other stuff. I was at basketball last night. Oregon State with the huge upset win.
How about them Beavs?
Beavs taking down number 16 Gonzaga. Of course, it was a late start to begin with. Corvallis, about 2-hour drive. I mean, I know it's a little less than that. And they, of course, go to overtime. So, I mean, look, it was my own fault for taking on extra work outside of my regular duties here at the radio station. So I have no one to blame but myself. But, Beavs, you couldn't finish this one out in regulation and save me the having to drive home and get home at 1:30 in the freaking morning? Come on, guys.
Jeez.
I know it's not too much to ask for an upset, but also maybe trying to do it in a timely manner. Come on, man. Why doesn't anybody ever think of me?
You could have crashed in Sweet Home.
I actually thought about that idea, but
you could have hit me up. You could have quite literally stayed with us in Sweet Home last night.
Also a bit of a long trip and journey yesterday, doing some Roseburg basketball. Congratulations to Roseburg boys basketball team.
Indians
Picking up a big victory on the road yesterday there at Century High School in Hillsboro. So good night all the way around. You texted me last night and said, hey, good day for the orange and black. And I thought, what, did Roseburg boys basketball win? And then I was like, well, maybe he's talking about Oregon State women's basketball also winning in overtime last night. So all around a good day for orange and black with Roseburg winning, Oregon State winning men's and women's basketball yesterday. A lot of fun there for all of our hoopers getting out there and doing stuff. But we got a lot of football action still to get to. The season's not done. Our show's got a couple more weeks to go before the Super Bowl wraps up our season here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show. And we got some great stuff going on. We got some really fantastic NFL football games scheduled for this weekend. Should be fun to dissect some of that coming up on the program today. Also going to be getting into, of course, the national championship game coming up on Monday. Martin Luther King. If you were not aware, Monday's extremely busy.
Yeah.
You've got,
it's the national championship game.
Well, you got the national championship game. It's a federal holiday in Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it's Inauguration Day.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
It's all going on the same
I'm
day.
not even thinking about that. Obviously, the biggest thing happening is the national championship game.
In my world, yes.
Yes.
Other people, maybe not.
I'm not even thinking about the holiday because we have to work. So it's just Monday. That's a great saying because, I think about Canadians, so like American Thanksgiving, like they have the NFL.
I'm glad you think about Canadians.
Yes, but like the NFL Thanksgiving, it's like, well, the NFL Thanksgiving games are happening, but as us up in Canada like to call it, Thursday, because there's no Thanksgiving on the same day in Canada. So it's the same thing. It's like, there's Inauguration Day, there's MLK Day, but as us at Brook Communications like to say, Monday.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yep.
Radio, the business that never sleeps. So, yeah, we got a busy Monday coming up here just right around the corner. We're going to be talking about all of it here on the program today, and we encourage you to join us here. We got some good stuff. Just a basic question for you. Who are you taking in the national championship game? Whether it's who you're rooting for or who you think is going to win, we'd love to hear from you on that front. You've got Ohio State, you've got Notre Dame, too. Man, I was looking at some numbers. Like, these are two of the, just long-term best college football programs in the country. Just overall in the entirety of college football, not just this year. Obviously, they're the two top teams that make it through the college football playoff. But overall, most unanimous All-Americans, or you've got most national championships, just all these things. These are your traditional college football teams. And it's amazing to kind of think about the gravity around these two programs and what they've meant to college football. And they get to square off coming up on Monday at 4:30 in Atlanta, where they'll thankfully be playing in the Dome. NFL playoff game is going to have to deal with some weather. We'll talk more about that. But the national championship game's in a Dome, even though it's going to be chilly out in Atlanta here coming up. So we would love to hear from you. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you want to win? Let us know. Hit us up on the YouTube stream we've got going on right now. You can find us online. Search 1490 The Score on YouTube, and you'll find our stream going on there. You can head to 541radio.com and get to the Score homepage. You can find the YouTube stream going there as well. Hit us up in the comment section. Let us know who are you taking for the national championship game, whether you're picking it or you're rooting interest. Let us know there. Or give us a call at 541-673-5551. That's the phone number here in the Score Sports Den. You can let us know what your thoughts are on the championship game. All right, let's get the party started here. Let's get this tailgate underway. As we always do here on a Friday, we like to start out our party by cracking a cold one.
Nothing gets a tailgate party going like a nice cold beverage. So let's crack one open and kick off today's show with our top story.
For us, we have to be able to run the football, and we got to find ways to do that. And at the end of the day, you're going to study teams that have had success against your opponent, but you still have to do what your team does well. And again, for us to have success, we're going to have to be able to run the ball, and we're going to have to be able to stop the run. And obviously, you know me well enough, Tim. I've said that for every game we play, but it won't be any different for this game.
Yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Notre Dame, and certainly what Marcus has done there. I think they're a gritty group. They're a tough group. They're a great program, and last 2 years it's been a battle playing against them, and we know it's going to be the same way. Every year is a different group of guys in a different situation. This is a different situation. It'll be the same way. But no, I mean, every game, you're either trying to prove somebody right or prove somebody wrong. It doesn't matter, when it is, and it'll be the same thing in this game here.
Well, those were the head coaches at press conferences this week at the national championship game for college football. Coming up Monday at 4:30 in Atlanta, you had Marcus Freeman for Notre Dame and Ryan Day for Ohio State meeting up there. Let's see. I looked earlier this morning. I don't expect that it's really changed drastically since then. 8-point favorite for Ohio State going into this matchup.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder how different that is compared to other college football national championship games, because it feels pretty big. Obviously, you got to factor in the Georgia-TCU game where Georgia was probably favored by over 10 points. But other than that, you got to think they're probably closer than 8 points, probably under 7 points for most national championship games.
Most? I don't know. That's a fair question. I mean, 8 points doesn't seem drastic to me. Right? That's a one-score game right there.
You would have Ohio State winning by over a touchdown?
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
That's the number. That's the line, though.
Well, for sure, I'm not giving it. I'm just saying, like, that's not a wide margin. I would say if it was 10 plus or 9 or whatever, then you're looking at that's a pretty decent spread on the game.
So you think 8's fair, 9 is too much?
No, I'm just saying, you were saying you felt like that was a big number, right?
For a national championship game, you'd expect it to be, like, probably under a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean,
I think borderline, like, 3.5 to 4.5 points.
Yeah.
For, like, what you would want from a national championship game, at least. And maybe that's the situation, right? Maybe it is because of the bracket and the way that things shook out this year that Ohio State can be over a touchdown favorite in a national championship game.
They definitely are the hottest team in college football going into the title game. And you got to keep in mind, too, that Vegas is trying to get you to put money on this game. And so at +8, that's a number that is big enough to entice people that want to ride Notre Dame and think that they're better than what maybe the perception is of the team, that it'll get them to take the points and bet Notre Dame, but also people that think Ohio State's a dominant team that's going to win this game. Like, I'm pretty sure, I think you told me earlier this week, you thought it was going to be, a 16-point game or something? Like, you were all in on Ohio State thinking that they were going to dominate this game. And so it would take, 8 points is not so big that if you're backing Ohio State, you're going to say, I don't know if they can cover that number. 8 is a number that's reasonable to cover. So I think it's kind of in line with, I think most people probably think that that Ohio State is the better team in this matchup. But are they better than one score better than them or not? It's right there on that line on how much you think they are better. And so I think it's probably a fair line on Vegas getting the action that they want, where they'll be able to get bettors on both sides of this. I think it's a game that it's either going to be close or it's going to be Ohio State in a landslide. Like, I don't think it's going to be this game hovered around a touchdown and then pulled away to a 13-point win. Like, I think it's either going to be like Ohio State by 17 plus, or it's going to be one of the two teams by a last-second field goal.
It's so funny because I don't really remember saying it was going to be a 16-point Ohio State win.
I could have swore when we the first day after the matchup was set. Like, you're like, Ohio, and, I don't know. Maybe it was maybe it was a little bit of hyperbole.
That's completely valid. Like, I could do it. It's been a long week. I mean, I just drove to Hillsboro yesterday. But, if I did say that, I wouldn't be surprised because I honestly do think that Ohio State has the capability to run this game out of the water. But I also think that Notre Dame has what it takes defensively to hang in there. And I think that you kind of hit it right on the head, that this is the type of game that either Ohio State's going to come out just like they did against Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and just dominate from the get-go. Or if Notre Dame can hang in this, then I think that it's going to be a fight. I think if Notre Dame gets down by 2 touchdowns, it's over. Like, I don't think that Notre Dame has what it takes offensively to come back from 2 touchdowns down in this game against Ohio State. Their defense is good, but they're not that good to help them come back from 2 touchdowns. Their offense has to do some work. But who knows? I mean, we've seen it this year in the postseason for Notre Dame. The special teams has been big for the Irish. Maybe it's a game where the special teams decides this one. But I think defensively and special teams-wise for the Fighting Irish, they have to be stellar if they want to win this game.
Yeah.
But, the crazy thing about this is that, Ohio State, they're playing for a lot. Because going into the season, what were they looking for? Number one, they wanted to beat Michigan. They didn't get that done. They wanted to win the Big Ten. They didn't get that done. They want to win the national championship. If they don't win the national championship, then what was this season for Ohio State?
That's a great question.
They beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Sure, maybe that's what you can, hang your head high on. But other than that, not a lot of positives for what Ohio State wanted going into the season. Like, if you put your top 3 goals, those were your top 3 goals. National championship, Big Ten championship, beat Michigan.
Yeah.
You're 0 for 2. You can't go 0 for 3. Notre Dame, they've kind of been doubted all year because they lost to Northern Illinois at the beginning of the season. And what do they want? They want revenge. They want to beat Ohio State because last year they had Ohio State in their building in South Bend. And what happened? The Buckeyes walked it off with a rushing touchdown as time expired, or like with 1 second to go, whatever it was last year. Ohio State came back, and Kyle McCord and company winning 17-14, and things were looking pretty good for the Buckeyes. Notre Dame wants that one back, and they've been thinking about that game a lot. And Riley Leonard, for him, starting your career at Notre Dame, you beat Texas A&M, and then you lose to Northern Illinois. What a redemption series season this could be for him. So there's a lot on the line. I think Notre Dame's playing with a little bit more fire to them because they want that win. Because, obviously they both want to win the national championship, but Notre Dame wants revenge. Like, Ohio State already beat Notre Dame. They're not necessarily thinking about it as much as Notre Dame's thinking about trying to get back at Ohio State.
I don't know if I'm buying into that narrative. No? I listened to some of the press conference stuff and read some of the transcripts from the stuff this week. It didn't seem as if players are thinking too much about the last meeting with Ohio State. I mean, Riley Leonard wasn't even with the team.
I understand that.
He's a transfer QB in. It wasn't even a game that he was a part of.
He's trying to be the guy to lead them past Ohio State because they couldn't get it done last year. Come on. I don't buy into that because, this year, Oregon versus Washington. What did they want to do? They wanted to beat Washington.
Yeah, but that's your natural, that's a rival. That's a team you see every year.
I understand that, but at the same time, if you lost to Washington twice the season before, you're thinking about that every single day until the next time you can face off against them again. And if you're Notre Dame, you lost last year, and I understand it's not necessarily...
That's like saying, Oregon lost to Miami. I mean, I just picked a team. That doesn't have anything to do with Mario Cristobal being at Miami now. But, that's like saying some out-of-conference team that you see once randomly, and then you never know when you're ever going to see that team again.
What it would be like is, Oregon lost to Georgia in week 1, year number 1 for Dan Lanning. If they would have played Georgia in the national championship game the year after, of course they're going to be thinking about that Georgia loss from the year before and wanting to get back, especially a lot of the players on the team. You're telling me that Bo Nix wouldn't be thinking about that Georgia game a year after losing to them?
Okay, but see, that's a quarterback that is there again for the next one. That's not the case,
But what about the rest of the team? What about Jeffrey Bossa? What about Bryce Betcher? You think they're not thinking about that? Come on.
I mean, okay, maybe. I mean,
you can't just get fixated on the quarterback. Jeremiah Love was there.
Okay, so yes, okay, sure. Maybe it's in the back of your mind, but is it the driving force for trying to win a national championship game? I think there's bigger things in there. I think it's part of it. I think there's bigger things on their radar going into this one. So what about the chances for Notre Dame in this matchup? You talked about defense a little bit there, as we are asking what are your thoughts on who's going to win the college football national championship game coming up in Atlanta on Monday. Notre Dame 8-point underdog in the matchup according to Vegas. I like Notre Dame's defense and the chance that it gives them to win in this matchup. I was reading from Bruce Feldman, anonymous coaches that have faced these two teams, giving their input into that, and spoke really highly of Notre Dame and what they have done this season with when they've been out there. They're better than you kind of think that they are. And I think that loss in Northern Illinois hangs over the head of this program really big. But they've been pretty good, and I think people are definitely. I think there's going to be a heavy wave of people thinking that Notre Dame has no chance in this game, and I give them a shot. I think that they. I think you look at what Texas did last week or the last game against Ohio State. You mentioned trying to come back against Ohio State. Texas they fell behind and they made a push to get back into that game. I think Notre Dame, I think they are the one with no room for margin for error in this game, obviously, as the underdog in the matchup. But I think Notre Dame seems to be playing with the right momentum, the right focus. They seem to be dialed in. I think their coach, Marcus Freeman, has done a great job, and I think he's really had them dialed in for this playoff run. And ever since, we talked about Oregon going 13-0 to get into the college football playoff. Notre Dame's basically, since week 2, they've had the pressure of trying to be undefeated, and they have done that, and they've been able to get here. Well, meanwhile, Ohio State, they lost against Oregon, they lost against Michigan. They've had a couple of bumps in the road. Notre Dame has been perfect since that week 2 loss, which is, that's early in the season. Yeah. They've really reeled it off. That's almost about as close to being undefeated as you can get.
The thing is, though, is like I keep saying, they've just flown under the radar because they haven't really played anybody. If you look at their schedule, yes, they beat Texas A&M to start the year, but after that point, after the Northern Illinois game, Georgia Tech may be the best game. I know that they played both the Army and Navy and the military schools, and you could say maybe USC, and until you get to the College World Playoff, obviously.
I was going to say, I feel like they've put those concerns to bed.
Exactly.
Now, right? They've put those to bed.
But the entirety of the season, it was we're not really talking about Notre Dame because they're not playing any marquee matchups.
True.
Their ranked matchups were playing Navy,
and
they were playing. Yeah, and they're not in a conference, so they didn't have a conference championship game. Their ranked matchups going into the postseason were against Army and Navy. And don't get me wrong, they had fine seasons, but it's not like Army and Navy are the toughest competition, and so everybody kind of has just been doubting Notre Dame because they haven't necessarily played anybody. Maybe that's naive about us. Just thinking that way. And, they actually loaded their schedule. If you looked at the schedule, and they probably
when they made it?
When they made the schedule, because you have to schedule these things out years in advance. Some of these teams, you're okay, Louisville, Stanford, Florida State, Virginia, you've got some ACC teams in there. USC, who would have thought USC had the season that they had? But at the end of the day, they've put it aside. They were able to win against Indiana. I think Indiana, look at them. They're probably happy right now, not necessarily because they were eliminated, but because their 2 losses this season are to the 2 final teams still alive in the College Football Playoff race. So you beat Indiana, you're able to win against Georgia with their backup quarterback, and then you come from behind against Penn State. They just have a good culture. That's the big thing, is that I think that Marcus Freeman's done a good job building the culture at Notre Dame. They kind of have to have that underdog mentality because you are independent and you are counted out to a certain extent. Not to say that everybody is doubting that Notre Dame can win a national championship, because they certainly have the money and resources to win a national championship, but they've taken that and ran with it with Marcus Freeman as the head coach, and because of that good culture, I think that you can put them in a fight against anybody and win the game. I think that culture is huge. You think about what Ohio State has. Ohio State has talent.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if they have the culture that Notre Dame has. Don't get me wrong, Ohio State has a culture, but I don't know if they have the same type of culture, that bond that Notre Dame has. You can see that each game and each play, it feels like these players are playing for each other, whereas Ohio State's just playing to win. I think that's the big difference. And so I think the culture for Notre Dame can keep them in this game and potentially win them this game. Who knows how much culture can really decide this game when there's so much more talent on Ohio State.
Yeah.
Just looking at the roster of Ohio State and the playmakers they have, it's going to be tough. But culture often prevails in a sport like football.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. Notre Dame's defense, I was reading some of it. They were number 6 in the country in yards per play allowed. Also, this one I thought was interesting. And maybe this is where you see Will Howard maybe have a tough day. He has been really good this year, kind of quietly had a very strong season as a quarterback, and I think it's because he's got all that talent around him that maybe people kind of overlook what he's been doing, but he's had a really strong season. But Notre Dame, number 1 in the country in completion percentage allowed. They have allowed quarterbacks to only complete 50.7% of their passes. Wow. That number is crazy. Only 50% of passes completed for quarterbacks this season against Notre Dame. Gunnar Stockton, this is crazy. He is the guy that had the best numbers against Notre Dame this season. The backup at Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, 60. He's the only quarterback to go over 60% against Notre Dame this year. They held 8 quarterbacks this year to under 50%. Completion percentage.
They also played Army and Navy.
True.
That's fair. Those are 2 of those games where they're not throwing the football a lot.
That's fair. But you would think if they're not throwing it a lot,
yeah, maybe.
I guess you don't. You're either going to go one way or the other. If you're not throwing it a lot, if you complete 1 or 2, you're going to have a high of your. If you complete 2 of your 4, you're at 50% right there. If you're 3 of 5, you're above 500 on that. But if you complete 1 out of 5, then your number is pretty crappy. So
the big thing though for Notre Dame is the turnovers. First in turnovers game, 32 turnovers this season. Defensive touchdown 6. second in scoring defense, I think right behind Ohio State.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, an 8-point spread. This could very well be a fairly low-scoring game.
Last year, it was 17-14.
Yeah.
Notre Dame was winning 14-10, and then Ohio State scored the touchdown at the end of the game to win. So, I can see this game going that way. I think that this could be a boring national championships game if you're thinking in terms of points scored.
Yeah.
Because if you want to see points scored, I don't know if this is going to be the game for you. I think this is going to be a defense-heavy game.
Yeah, and I know that the defensive backs for Notre Dame likely going to be trying to do everything they can, and they're good. They're good enough to probably slow down those amazing wide receivers
this is the
for
toughest
Ohio
test,
State.
though. I mean, Ohio State,
for sure.
the weapons that
they're-
Ohio State have are just insane.
It would be something to have one of those guys on your roster, and they've got 2 or 3 that are just
Aliens.
just hard to stop. So it is going to be an interesting one. Pick time. Let's
We're just going for it.
I want to get to other stuff throughout the show. We're not going to spend all of our time on it, so we might as well wrap up the segment just looking at.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sure neither of us are rooting for Ohio State. I know you have this extreme hate. You can't even look at Ohio State, the campus, not the team or the logos. Just you can't even look at Columbus, Ohio.
I mean, just the term Ohio State rhymes with hate. It's ingrained in me. I couldn't just be like, Buckeyes. Even that's hard to say.
So we know you're who you're rooting.
We know
for.
who I'm rooting for. Are we picking spread or are we just picking outright?
Straight up.
Straight up.
Who's winning the national championship?
I have the
this
Buckeyes
year?
winning the national championship. I think offensively they just can get it done. I think that if Notre Dame forces more turnovers, if they force 3 turnovers and win the run game battle, I think Notre Dame wins this game. But I'm going to give it to the Buckeyes. I think they're going to win. But I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like a 3-point game, and I think it's going to be a last-second play. I really do. But at the same time, I still think that if Ohio State's up by 2 touchdowns in this game, they're going to run away with it. Notre Dame can't come back.
Yeah.
I understand they came back from 10 points against Penn State. This is different. Ohio State has a way different offense. Drew Aller, as good as he was in the postseason, he kind of proved what Drew Aller could be. And Will Howard hasn't necessarily shown that this year. Honestly, a little surprising. I mean, you mentioned that, he's kind of having this underrated season, and maybe it's because he is surrounded by all these high-flying weapons around, but, nobody's talking about him for the NFL draft.
Yeah, no, totally.
Why?
I just kind of keep assuming that he's not, he's just kind of doing the minimum to help Ohio State win, and it's all the talent around him that continues to get them to win. But you look at his numbers, he's having a really good season.
Yeah.
And we can take more. I mean, we can look more at that. We've got to get in a break here. We've gone a little long. But so we can look at Will Howard's numbers a little bit more here as the season goes on. But I agree with you. I think he's quietly had a very good season there. Yeah. I am rooting for this game to be competitive down to the end. It might be one of those games where, the first 3 quarters, you're extremely bored, but then the 4th quarter rolls around and you're like, all right, nobody's scoring, so what's this game going to come down to on who's going to win? I think I'm going to go on the record. I'll pick Notre Dame, and maybe it's only because I just want to be different. But do I really think they have a chance? God, it is hard to convince myself of it, but I'm going to do it anyways. Let's do it. It'll be fun.
I wish I had the guts to do it.
I've gone on the record now. I'm doing it. Do I believe myself? I don't know. I might just be doing it just to be different. So
it's like the meme where it's the guy. It's like the Joker meme where he's standing in the mirror looking at himself, and it's the clown. That's what you feel like.
Sure. Why not? We got to get to a break here, but you can let us know who are you rooting for. Who do you think is going to win national championship game Monday at 4:30 is kind of when things get going there. And should be an interesting one. Ohio State and Notre Dame. 541-673-5551. That is the phone number, 541-673-5551. Let us know your thoughts on the national championship game. We did get a comment here during the first segment. Your dad changed his YouTube handle.
Did he?
It now says Knight's Dad.
Actually?
Comments about how Notre Dame being on NBC is maybe hurting their perception and just the attention they get because
I disagree.
they're not on ESPN and CBS and Fox on a regular basis. All right, there you go. We will continue. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue talking some college football here in the first hour of the program. We'll dive into the NFL playoffs in hour number 2. College football playoffs is just about to wrap up. Could changes be on the horizon? We will discuss when we come back here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show on The Score. Get you now a sports update from Knight Jarecki.
For your Score Sports Update, I'm Knight Jarecki. Last night in prep hoops, the Roseburg boys basketball team pulled off a 62-57 road win at Century High School in Hillsboro. The game was back and forth, but the Indians managed to seal the victory with some sharp shooting from the free throw line. Owen Bentia finished with 27 points and reached 1,000 career points for his career. The Riddle boys earned a Skyline League win over Power 72-31, while the Riddle girls lost to Power 71-10. Coming up today, the Oregon Classic Wrestling Tournament gets underway this morning at the Deschutes County Expo Center in Redmond. Roseburg, Sutherland, Glide, and Oakland are all in Central Oregon to compete in the statewide event. The Far West League schedule gets underway tonight for Sutherland, Douglas, Glide, and South Umpqua. The Sutherland Bulldogs host the Siuslaw Vikings. The boys will begin play at 5:30 p.m., with the girls following them at 7 p.m. You can tune in for coverage from the Dog Pound starting at 5:15 p.m. on I-101 FM with Dan Bain on the call. The Glide Wildcats host the South Umpqua Lancers, and the Douglas Trojans head to Coquille. In the Sunset Conference, the Oakland Oakers visit Bandon tonight, and in the Skyline League, Elkton travels to Glendale, Camas Valley visits New Hope Christian, Days Creek hosts Umpqua Valley Christian, and Yoncalla heads to Pacific. The North Douglas boys and girls have a non-league home matchup against Triangle Lake. In college hoops, the Oregon State Beavers went toe-to-toe with number 16 Gonzaga and pulled off a 97-89 upset victory in overtime. The win improved OSU's home record to 11-1 on the year. Michael Ratai scored 10 of his game-high 29 points in overtime. Nate Kings added 20 points for OSU. And the Oregon State women's basketball team also survived overtime. The Beavers hung on for a 74-72 win at Santa Clara.
Whether it's across town or across the state, moving is always a chore. So let BTB Moving help with your next move. BTB Moving is a labor-only company offering statewide services such as packing and unpacking, loading and unloading, piano moving, cleaning services, and 24-hour emergency services. BTB Moving is an affordable, veteran-owned company here to help with your next move. Call 541-315-0122 or find BTB Moving on Facebook. That's BTB Moving for all your moving needs.
Wow, your hair looks really good today.
Thanks. I just went to the hair fair. They gave me the exact cut and color I wanted, and I've been having a good hair day ever since.
I've been looking for a new place. Is it as good as it sounds?
Absolutely. They really listen to what you want, and I walked out feeling like a new person.
Okay, I'm sold. I need that good hair day feeling too.
Book your appointment at the hair fair today. Call 673-8846 and get ready for your best hair day ever.
Hanging out and talking ball. This is the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show on The Score, 92.3 FM and 1490 AM.
Knight Jarecki and Joey Keeran here back with you in the Score Sports Den. This program brought to you by BTB Moving, providing labor services for your moving needs. Veteran-owned, affordable, dependable, efficient, and careful. They've got senior and veteran discounts available. Book now at 541-315-0122 or find them on Facebook at BTB Moving. Appreciate their sponsorship of the program, and appreciate you guys tuning in to join us here on today's show. Of course, we would love to hear from you at 541-673-5551. You can hit us up there or chime in on the YouTube stream. Hit your comments in on there. Just search 1490 The Score on YouTube. All right. College football playoffs, the first season of the expanded 12-team playoff is wrapping up on Monday. The conversation, it's the first year. It's the first time. There's always kind of things that happen that you're like, ooh, that wasn't exactly how we expected things to go. Apparently, though, the folks that run the college football playoffs are meeting on Sunday. It was on Sunday with the possibility of maybe discussing changes. Heather Dinich from ESPN with more.
There are a lot of questions in terms of first round home games, seedings, buys, you name it, they're going to talk about it. But because Sunday's meeting is only 90 minutes, I would expect that they push things forward for more deeper conversations, maybe in a virtual meeting next month, and definitely at their annual CFP spring meetings in April.
That again, ESPN's Heather Dinich. Now, as we were at the commercial break, I saw Russ Dellinger from Yahoo Sports just putting out that is he with Yahoo? Yeah, Yahoo Sports. Okay, I remembered that correctly. The often discussed seeding change to the college football playoff unlikely to gain necessary support without compromise, commissioners telling Yahoo Sports. Big 12, ACC, and Mountain West leaders express skepticism to eliminating the conference championship bye rule for next year. So that thing that we all want and kind of all probably assume should happen, well, of course, college football is going to get in its own way and not make it happen.
So I understand it. They're trying to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Here's some more information. The first round bye rule guarantees the top 4 conference champions each an $8 million payout. So Boise State gets that first round bye, $8 million payout to the Mountain West, to Boise State, future Pac-12. There's, of course, as it always goes, there's money tied into all of it.
Of course. But that's not to say they shouldn't reseed after the first round. Like, I think that's the solution. That would be the compromise, right? Because these conferences are just trying to protect themselves. The ACC, the Big 12, they don't want to see them lose out on a bye because, they could win their conference championship, go 14-1, whatever it may be, or 12-1, whatever the number would be, and they could still argue, the committee could, maybe this SEC team that had 2 losses should be in over them and have that bye. I understand why they're doing it. They're just trying to cover their bases and protect their own, and I get that for a conference, but you need to reseed. Like, that's the compromise, and that's the solution if you want to keep that, because at the end of the day, what Oregon got handed to them this year was just utterly horrible.
I will say this. If you're expecting that college football is going to do the thing that is the right decision, yeah, you might be disappointed in that front, because so Brett Yormark, Big 12 commissioner?
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Yeah. He said on the changes to that rule about first round buys and reseeding and all that, he said, quote, "I do not have the appetite to give up any financial reward that comes with a bye." And there it is, right there.
Yep.
And just look at the history of college football. The changes don't come quickly. And the money is always the driving force that goes with college athletics, with college football in particular. I mean, how long did it take us to get to a college football playoff format that actually helped us decide on the field who the national champion was? Because the reason why we didn't do it was because there were too many bowl games that had money tied into everything that they didn't want to change that structure, and people didn't want to give up the money that came along with all of that until they realized, oh, wait, a playoff structure, we can work it into our bowl game structure and still find ways to make all this money and even more. What I think is probably, this is going to continue to be my stance on college athletics until something drastic happens, is that college football and college athletics are headed to a point where they are so far behind that the whole thing has to be blown up and restructured, because things continue to change while the leadership continues to bury their head in the sand, and they keep getting kind of the tail wags the dog when it comes to college athletics. And
Wait, what?
Yeah, a dog should lead where it's going, but if the tail is wagging the dog, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of it's that the thing that should be leading is not leading, and the thing that should be led is what's directing the. You never heard that term?
No.
The tail wags the dog. There you go, teaching the younger generation all the new tricks of the trade. There.
You can teach a young dog new tricks.
But it's like, all of the NIL stuff, all of the revenue sharing, all of the eligibility requirements, conference realignment, and you see all of this stuff going. You got Mick Cronin for UCLA basketball complaining about travel for the Bruins. Ulmer, Matt, right?
Matt
Matt Ulmer for Oregon volleyball just leaves. I have no idea if this is the reason. It probably isn't, but people saying like, "Oh, the travel of the Big Ten and all this other stuff."
Well,
I'm not trying to say that's the reason. I'm not,
No.
but all of these
That is
issues,
one
all of
thing,
these issues of conference realignment are things that are going to start disrupting the student athlete and the coaching staff, and so it's like all these things that you expect administrators, presidents and chancellors, commissioners, all these things that you expect those folks to think of and kind of guide and lead you on. They're not doing any of that. And I think eventually it's going to be students wanting to get paid, revenue share, then going to the courts, then going to and all of that other stuff is going to be what forces college athletics to just have to go in a complete, just absolutely blow the whole thing up and redesign it.
Honestly, I agree. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and I don't really know like why Matt Ulmer's leaving. Maybe it's because he's kind of doing the Lincoln Riley thing, and he's like, the Big Ten volleyball, tough conference, really tough conference. You go to the Big 12.
Not as tough.
ASU? Is ASU the top volleyball program? Kansas historically has been a very good volleyball program. Maybe he goes there because of that. We don't know. Maybe it's the travel. I can imagine like he has young kids.
Maybe they threw a bunch of cash at him.
Maybe they threw a bunch of cash at him. Honestly, very surprising move. But that's kind of where we're at in college athletics, that you could make a quote-unquote lateral at best move because you could give yourself a bigger advantage in terms of generating more revenue to your university because of your postseason success, and maybe you find that postseason success easier or more obtainable in another conference. And that's what's happening right now in college football too, is that, you have the Big 12, the ACC, these quote-unquote lower-rated conferences,
right,
trying to get more money for their conferences and for their universities.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC and the Big Ten have obviously put themselves at the top of the pyramid when it comes to the structure of college sports. And yeah, the Big 12, the ACC, then you've got your group of five, greater five conferences that are trying to stay in that realm as well. And everybody's trying to get their piece. I mean, that's what led us to where we are, is that everybody's trying to get their piece of the pie and trying to get that biggest slice of the pie. And it just continues to ruin college sport.
It's crazy.
I hate to say it's ruining college sports.
Because what it is that it's something so new and so polar opposite of what we're used to, right? For so long it was, these are student athletes. These are the students, and then they also play sports and they're athletes. Now, that's not the case. They don't really talk about them being students first. Like, that was the big push for years. Like, your whole life, my whole life, it was like, you go to college, you get a degree, and then you play sports, and then you can potentially make it to the NFL, and that's where you find your success. Now, all of a sudden, college sports has become basically semi-pro, if not professional at this point. And with the revenue sharing that's going to be coming, it's going to be vastly different.
Well, and see, that's the crazy thing. There was a ruling yesterday in the courts where, and I am not a lawyer. I don't know the laws all that well, but apparently, like, the ruling in one of the court decisions here recently was that if you're going to do revenue sharing, it has to be equally between male and female athletes.
Yeah,
and if that's the mandate, then it's never going to happen, because and it's not a knock on female athletes, but it's a knock on anything that's not basically college football or college basketball. I mean, women's basketball is growing, doing better, is getting there. But even still, that's not generating what college men's basketball, and even college men's basketball is only. It's not even
it's
college
just slightly
football
in
is,
the green.
Yeah, college football is almost everybody is like doing well, but college basketball for men, like, there's a group of programs that do well there, but it's not as nearly as much as football. And so,
football is the only profitable athletic team on any university campus.
And so if you're having to revenue share evenly amongst everybody, there's going to be a women's beach volleyball player that's like, hell yeah, go make that money, Dylan Gabriel. I'm cashing in on that. not happening.
I mean, they need a facility at Oregon. That's the main
They're
thing.
working on it,
They're
right?
Apparently.
So.
I mean, what's taking them so long?
Man,
Honestly,
a lot of Oregon volleyball getting into the conversation here on the Umpqua
Basin Tailgate show. No, but like here's the thing too, is that like with the revenue sharing and with these student athletes being able to generate money, and maybe it is distributed by the university. What does that do? Like, because certain teams are going to have a larger amount of money, like Notre Dame and Ohio State. They're playing in the national championship game. They get more money, therefore their players can make more money. So does it create a bigger gap?
Yeah,
that's the other question. Is
for sure
create a bigger gap between the lower
the haves and the haves not?
Exactly.
I mean, it's you look at baseball. I mean, the Yankees, the Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, it's,
MLB is tough, like and that's what it's kind of come to, right? Except college sports is even more lawless.
It's even worse because there's no salary, or there's no luxury tax, there's no free agency. It is just
there is free agency. No, it's literally, it can happen at any point. You can leave your team whenever you want.
It's not even free agency. It's just do whatever you want. It is completely out there.
Well, and here's the thing too,
and you don't have in professional sports, you've got a draft where you get taken by a team and you go where you're told. You don't get to decide where you're going. College sports, you don't even have that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that people are like, well, the players should be able to leave any time because the coaches can leave any time. It's like so can they in the NBA. Like, so can they in the NFL. Like, a coach can just, have a job and then leave to go take another job at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And those players, guess what? They're still on contract.
Yeah.
They still have to be there.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Just because a coach leaves doesn't mean that you as a player can leave. Like if Ben Johnson becomes the head coach somewhere else and maybe he becomes the Raiders head coach, Jared Goff can't just be like, well, I'm not going to be a Lion anymore. My offensive coordinator's gone, so I'm just going to leave. No, he's under contract. Like, you have to stay. If you sign an agreement, you should be there. And in college sports nowadays, it doesn't even matter. You can just, you can be a Bear Alexander. And I get it. He's coming to Oregon. But at the same time, in the middle of the season, I'm just going to redshirt. Yeah. I'm going to leave this program. I'm going to go transfer somewhere else. I'm going to quit on my team middle of the season. That's what college sports has come to. And that's what grinds my gears.
All right. Peter Griffin over there. What could be coming is if a coach leaves in the middle of a contract, what do you get?
Buyout.
A buyout.
Yeah.
Well, that NIL, revenue sharing with a college athlete. If he goes to another team, is another university going to have to pay the buyout to get that kid?
That's a good question. What about those NIL agreements?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
How does a player, what if a player has a $5 million agreement? What if they leave? What if they transfer? Do they have to pay the $5 million back? Because I think that would be a valid response.
Like I said, I think we are, I've been saying it all along, we're in the Wild West, and it is just all ripe for somewhere, somehow, this whole thing gets blown up and has to get restructured because nobody is stepping up to make the decisions on how this moves forward for the better of college athletics, for the better of the student athlete, for the better of the universities, for the better of the fan, the sports, the entertainment, all of it. Nobody is stepping up to take the initiative to make this product what it should be, and instead we're all getting ruled by the television networks that are wanting to make all the money off the advertising and then paying it to the universities who want to make all the money off the media rights deals. It is a mess, and there's good and bad of it all, but in the mix of it all, it's just wandering rudderless here at this point in time with college athletics, and it is a bit frustrating to see all of it happen. Yes. We got to get to a break. We'll come back with a quick segment here, some news and notes that wanted to share along with you. We can talk a little bit about it as well as Oregon State, some coaching changes, and some local news with football as well. Back after this quick break here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving.
Good afternoon with the Score News Update. I'm Nate Jarecki. With overnight low temperatures expected to dip, St. George Episcopal Church is activating a daytime warming center in downtown Roseburg for at least Friday through Sunday. The day center will operate from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the church's parish hall on Southeast Cass Avenue. This will offer a warm place for house people without enough heat and limited energy supplies to people without overnight shelter, according to the day center operators Jacob Schluter and Courtney Greenwald, who are members of the church. The Day Warming Center is seeking additional donations such as snacks, pull tab, canned foods, cup of noodles, instant soup, bottled or canned drinks, sleeping bags, tents, blankets, pillows, hats, coats, gloves, and more. Cash can be contributed as well. To donate or volunteer, contact Schluter at 503-683-2389 or on the email that we have linked on this story at 541radio.com. In sports, the Roseburg boys basketball team went up to Hillsboro last night and came away with a victory against Century, winning 62-57. The game was a back-and-forth battle, but the Indians managed to seal the victory with some sharp shooting from the free throw line. Owen Bentia finished with 27 points and reached over 1,000 points for his career in the win. Also yesterday, the Oregon State Beavers went toe-to-toe with number 16 Gonzaga and pulled off a 97-89 upset in overtime. The victory improved OSU's home record to 11-1 on the year. Michael Ratai scored 10 of his game-high 29 points in overtime. Taking a look at the weather today, cloudy, then gradually becoming more sunny with a high near 43. Tonight, patchy dense fog, mostly cloudy with a low around 29 degrees. Tomorrow, it's going to be mostly cloudy, then gradually more sunny with a high near 40 and a low around 26. News and information is available 24/7 at 541radio.com. I'm Nate Jarecki, here on The Score.
Unleash low prices for the whole pack. Right now at your local Coastal.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, with just what the country needs.
Stay warm while you work this season with 40% off select Last Chance fall apparel and winter outerwear. Plus, save 20% off all household heaters from top brands like Visionaire and Beyond Heat. Stop by our pet department for $3 off bags of Heartland Harvest cat food. And don't forget to keep bellies full in the hen house. Stock up on poultry feed and save $2 off bags of Country Select Layer Crumble, Layer Pellets, and Scratch Grains. Shop in-store or online from January 15th through the 21st for these savings and even more on pet and home essentials.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, with just what the country needs.
Shop now for savings from your porch to your pasture.
Tailgate party. Give us a call at 541-673-5551 or send us your thoughts on the 541 radio app or find us on Twitter at KSKR The Score.
Wrapping things up here quickly on the final segment of hour number 1 here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by our friends at BTB Moving. They'll help you with your next move. Find them on Facebook, BTB Moving. All right, I wanted to hit a couple of news and notes here real quick, Knight. The Oregon State Beavers, coaching change here. Keith Hayward stepping down as his position as defensive coordinator. Comes out that he had a lot of off-the-field family stuff going on. I think it was his dad passed away. His mom was in the hospital. The life of a coach in college ranks, just too busy for him to be able to get away and spend time with his parents as they were going through some health stuff. He's got young kids, it sounds like, that he wants to try and spend time with. So just for personal reasons, he steps away from the team, and Trent Bray's going to take over.
Yeah.
Kind of a rarity for a head coach to be also the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, there's just one other defensive coordinator head coach combo in the country. That's Clark Lee, the Vanderbilt head coach. There is a few head coaches that are offensive coordinators as well as being the head coach. I know Troy Taylor is at Stanford. Looking like San Diego State's Sean Lewis, Hawaii's Timmy Chang, and Louisiana Monroe's Bryant Vincent, as well as Joe Moorhead, former offensive coordinator. Yeah, at the University of Oregon. Gosh, that still today haunts me. That loss against Stanford with Moorhead in the hospital that morning.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what does Oregon's season look like that year if Moorhead's healthy for that game?
It's a great question.
It's a very good question.
I wonder what leads coaches to being more often offensive coordinators than defensive coordinators as well as a head coach. Is it just because programs favor offensive-minded head coaches? Is that it, or is there something about being offense that lends it to being easier to also be the head coach of a program, I wonder?
I think that in terms of the modern state of college football, people are very fascinated by high-flying offenses. They want to score points.
Yeah.
They want to score points. That's what they care about. And I think that it's hard for a former offensive coordinator to give up control. I mean, we saw it with Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator, head coach at UCLA. He didn't want to give up control of the offense. Like, that was the big struggle for him. And I think that you see that with Joe Moorhead, Timmy Chang, Sean Lewis. I mean, Lewis was the offensive coordinator at Colorado before he became the head coach at San Diego State. And I think that these guys just believe in their system so much that they just don't want to relinquish control of that and get something else because they feel like they can do a better job than anybody else. I think that any coach, specifically offensive coordinators, feel like their system's the best and nobody can tell them otherwise. And so I feel like it'd be hard if you're such an offensive-minded guy to see someone come out there and, change your system. Whereas with defense, I think that you can kind of get away with it. Like, sure, there's certain things that you can do defensively, as a defensive coordinator that can help contribute. But I think as a head coach, you kind of are okay, like, adding somebody else to help out with the defense to make it kind of work. Like Dan Lanning, excellent defensive coordinator, kind of got a perfect fit with Tosh Lupoy to kind of bounce off of and work together. And I think with defense, you can work together a little bit more than you can offensively.
So the changes going on there at Oregon State. We'll see how that plays into things coming up next year. I did want to give some shout-outs here real quick before we wrap things up. Congratulations to Caden Austin from Roseburg Football. Saw online that he has committed to Valley City State University. A mouthful there. North Dakota School, NAIA.
I know.
So
it's
on
so
level
funny
of D3 football.
Because they're like Valley City State.
Yeah.
It's because the city is literally called Valley City.
Yeah.
So it's Valley City, North Dakota. Congratulations to him. Caden Luther, earlier this week, he was on a recruiting visit at George Fox. So congratulations to him. Did find out Ashton Palm, not necessarily going to play football or play basketball or whatever, but he is going to Arizona State. So he is going to ASU now for university. So congratulations to Ashton Palm.
Now we just got college commitments going on here, not even for athletics. I know Jack Bana, Caden Luther, you mentioned there, those guys have been looking at some college football options as well. They're at that small school level, the Linfield, George Fox, Lewis and Clark, NAIA's at the level of Southern Oregon University there for Valley City State University. So good luck there to Caden Austin. I saw him at the baseball field not that long ago when I stopped by over there. Roseburg baseball was already starting to get ready for their season coming up. So good luck to him and congratulations. That's pretty cool to see for a program that has had some bumps and bruises here over the last few years. To see some of these kids getting the chance to continue playing is pretty cool. All right, we are going long, but we are going to wrap things up. We'll come back with hour number 2 of the program. NFL playoffs kick off tomorrow. The next round, it's the divisional round. We'll talk about that when we come back here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving.
For your Score Sports update, I'm Nate Jarecki. Last night in prep hoops, the Roseburg boys basketball team pulled off a 62-57 road win at Century High School in Hillsboro. The game was back and forth, but the Indians managed to seal the victory with some sharp shooting from the free throw line. Owen Bentia finished with 27 points and reached 1,000 career points for his career. The Riddle boys earned a Skyline League win over Power 72-31, while the Riddle girls lost to Power 71-10. Coming up today, the Oregon Classic Wrestling Tournament gets underway this morning at the Deschutes County Expo Center in Redmond. Roseburg, Sutherland, Glide, and Oakland are all in Central Oregon to compete in the statewide event. The Far West League schedule gets underway tonight for Sutherland, Douglas, Glide, and South Umpqua. The Sutherland Bulldogs host the Siuslaw Vikings. The boys will begin play at 5:30 p.m., with the girls following them at 7 p.m. You can tune in for coverage from the Dog Pound starting at 5:15 p.m. on I-101 FM with Dan Bain on the call. The Glide Wildcats host the South Umpqua Lancers, and the Douglas Trojans head to Coquille. In the Sunset Conference, the Oakland Oakers visit Bandon tonight, and in the Skyline League, Elkton travels to Glendale, Camas Valley visits New Hope Christian, Days Creek hosts Umpqua Valley Christian, and Yoncalla heads to Pacific. The North Douglas boys and girls have a non-league home matchup against Triangle Lake. In college hoops, the Oregon State Beavers went toe-to-toe with number 16 Gonzaga and pulled off a 97-89 upset victory in overtime. The win improved OSU's home record to 11-1 on the year. Michael Ratai scored 10 of his game-high 29 points in overtime. Nate Kings added 20 points for OSU. And the Oregon State women's basketball team also survived overtime. The Beavers hung on for a 74-72 win at Santa Clara.
Whether it's across town or across the state, moving is always a chore. So let BTB Moving help with your next move. BTB Moving is a labor-only company offering statewide services, such as packing and unpacking, loading and unloading, piano moving, cleaning services, and 24-hour emergency services. BTB Moving is an affordable, veteran-owned company here to help with your next move. Call 541-315-0122 or find BTB Moving on Facebook. That's BTB Moving for all your moving needs.
People come from all over the world to visit a most unique site, the lost city of Machu Picchu in Peru. Julie from Travel Leaders Flyaway Travel has teamed up with Colette Tours to offer a 14-day small group tour that visits this amazing place along with the Sacred Valley, Cusco, and Puno, located on the shores of Lake Titicaca and Lima. The package includes transportation from Roseburg, hotel stays, 26 meals, and daily sightseeing. For more details, contact Julie at Flyaway Travel at 672-5701.
Local sports talk in Douglas County. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. Fridays, noon to 2, right here on 92.3 FM KWRZ Canyonville and 1490 AM KSKR Roseburg. We're The Score, Douglas County's home for sports. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. We're setting up shop, so pop open the cooler, pull up a seat.
Who wants to have some fun?
Let's talk some pigskin.
If they finish out with 2 losses, but they didn't beat a team from a Power 5 conference, the perception is not going to be great for Oregon State. And unfortunately, college football, no matter what kind of realignment we have, it's still a beauty pageant, and you still have to have wins that look good on paper.
And this is big for just recruiting teams to join the Pac-12, right?
Yeah.
Like if Oregon State beats Purdue, all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe the Pac-12 can still compete with the Power 5.
And could
Power
be
4.
considered back into that Power 5 level.
Yeah.
From the Score Sports Closet, it's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show.
Welcome in, everybody. Great to have you with us here on this Friday afternoon. Happy January 17th as we bring you local sports talk here in Douglas County. Along with Nate Jarecki, I am Joey Keeran. It's great to be with you and talking some football here on this Friday afternoon. We were hitting the college football national championship game coming up on Monday. We've been talking a little bit of college football here to start things off in the first hour. Hour number 2, wanted to start switching our gears towards the NFL playoffs coming up this weekend. We've got the divisional round stuff coming up here Saturday and Sunday. Games coming up on the Score, so you can tune in if you can't be in front of the TV. We've got you covered here on the radio or listen live at 541radio.com as well, and on the 541 radio app. So lots of ways that you can tune in and catch the NFL playoffs. A lot of ways that you can be a part of the program with us here today. We've got the phone lines open at 541-673-5551 is the phone number, 541-673-5551. Or you can hit us up on our YouTube channel. We're streaming on 1490 The Score on YouTube. Find the stream of the show going there and hit us up in the comments section. Knight's dad, regular contributor, chiming in a couple of times.
Program.
Yeah, friend of the program for sure. Appreciate his input there on the YouTube channel. All right, so the NFL playoffs kicking off this weekend. We will have the first game on Saturday here on the radio, and then we've got Oregon State basketball coming up in the evening. Starts off with the Texans and the Chiefs tomorrow afternoon, coverage beginning at 1 o'clock here on the Score. And then the second game of the day would have to be, I don't have it in front of me because we don't have it on the air, and I'm looking at the on-air schedule. What's the next game of the day?
I'm also going to look. I think it's the Lions game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's got to be because I don't have them on Sunday.
The Lions and Commanders.
Oh, I like
that's
that.
a fun
That's
game.
Be a fun one. Although it is a 9.5-point spread.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
I think. You know
what's crazy?
Why would you not think that Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are gonna go out there and put a challenge into this one. They've done it all season long. Like they've just continued to outdo the expectations of them.
100%. I mean, like they were counted out against the Buccaneers too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people thought that the Buccaneers were
Not you and me.
Not you and me. We picked the Commanders last week. Also, want to note, like, how awesome is this for Detroit to be the number 1 seed and get to host a home playoff game?
That place is going to be hopping.
Cheapest ticket, $362. That is the most out of any playoff ticket this weekend.
I was going
to say
by
a substantial margin.
I was going to say that actually still seems somewhat reasonable.
I
mean, for a game of this magnitude, for a city that is this desperate
I understand
for
that,
it
but,
feels
like,
still somewhat reasonable.
It's still over twice as much as any other ticket. The next closest is Philly. That's right now the cheapest ticket, according to Vivid Seats, which is what ESPN uses. $171 in Philly, $362 in Detroit, only $93 if you want to go to Arrowhead. I guess they've been spoiled recently that they've had their fair share of playoff games.
Your dad, your family, season ticket holders with the Raiders.
Yes.
Like, do you know, like, on average, kind of just a general number, probably not an average, but, a general number of a get-in regular season ticket price for an NFL game?
Well, the Raiders is different because the Raiders in Vegas is like the highest ticket, like
in the NFL. Okay,
consistently, because at the end of the day, like if you're in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's November, hey babe, you want to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin? No, I don't want to go to Green Bay. It'd be cool to see Titletown and all that. Do you want to go to Buffalo? No, I don't really want to go to Buffalo. Hey, do you want to go to Vegas?
Yeah,
I want to go to Vegas. You want to go to Vegas for a road game. I mean, you get the whole fam, or maybe you don't get the whole fam. Maybe you just go out, bachelor weekend, whatever it is. You want to go to Vegas for a weekend and have a good time. The football game's kind of the after part. The party is the city, and that's what you go for. And so it's a little bit different. I don't know what the base rate was when the Raiders were in Oakland. It was about like $70-$80.
I was gonna say, it's been a few years now, and they were a Christmas gift from my parents to take the whole family to a Seattle Seahawks game as they were hosting the Chiefs. We just went up. It was my dad, my brother, and I. The three of us all went up for a game, and I feel like tickets were like $80 some odd or more. I paid over $100. Like, I think I paid $100 to get into an Oregon Duck football game a couple of different times to get in. And that might have included fees and whatnot. But like for a Kansas City Chiefs who are on their path to trying to be a three-peat champion, and you can get into a playoff game for $93, like that just seems crazy to me.
So the Seahawks have the 9th most expensive average ticket price. This is according to 2023. They don't have 2024 yet. But last year, the Seahawks had the 9th highest average ticket price at I had that wrong. $121 per ticket. $127
and
per ticket.
That's a regular season game, and you're telling me that there are playoff game tickets that are cheaper than that.
Again, that's the average. So that's the median. So you could have lower tickets.
True.
You could have tickets
the get-in price is not the
average. The average for the Raiders, which is the most in the NFL, is $168.83 is your average ticket price for a game. The Steelers game this year, my dad could have sold his tickets for the Steelers game, which he probably should have because the Raiders played terrible. Sorry, Dad, but you had the Ohio State game that weekend. You could have just kicked back on Sunday and made like $1,000 because he could have sold his tickets in the 300 level for $500 each.
Dang.
That's how highly sought after that Steelers game. What's it going to be next year? I think there's like several teams that come into town that like you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, that's going to be.
Those are fan bases that will spend.
Are you going to come to Vegas next year? The Titans are coming to Vegas.
So the Titans, they've released the matchups for everybody. They don't have dates and whatnot yet, but they've released those matchups. The Titans go to Denver, where my buddy has season tickets. They go to Las Vegas, where I know someone with season tickets. Yep. I might have to just try and do. It's actually Denver is hosting both Tennessee and Green Bay. Ooh. So I don't know. We may have to swing going to some NFL games.
The Raiders host the Cowboys next year. like how expensive
yeah.
do you think those Cowboys Raiders tickets are?
Oh,
gonna
for
be?
sure. Yeah.
Like that's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
And the Bears are coming to town too. I mean, Bears fans travel pretty well. At least they did in Oakland.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the drunkest opposing fan of my life, a Bears fan.
That makes sense. That's interesting, though, about ticket prices getting into some of these games here coming up this weekend. So we saw teams moving on after the wild card round, and I wanted to bring up our brackets that we did last week, picking the NFL brackets. And Knight got hit hard. Yeah, you know, when you get to March Madness and you're picking the brackets and whatnot, it's like the goal is like, yeah, you're going to have a couple of first round and second round games that don't go your way, but as long as they're not one of your Elite Eights or your Final Fours or, God forbid, your championship game participant, you're okay. As long as they're not one of those teams that goes deep in your playoff bracket.
I get it.
Knight got hit. Knight got hit hard. Ah, man, that Chargers game.
Yeah, what happened?
Ugh.
Brutal.
God, and
I mean, we were golfing, and we were. I mean, you had it in your car. You were listening to the game. I was listening to the game too, and like, what happened? Man?
I just don't even know, and I can't remember. I think it was the Bald Faced Truth I was listening to on the afternoon, and like there was a lot of talk about. Or no, it was over the weekend. I was taking down the Christmas lights, and I was listening to the score, and it was talk. It was one of the talk shows on the weekend, and the guy was hounding about how Justin Herbert doesn't have the clutch gene. And I was a little kind of, I mean, look, we're biased. I mean, like, well, we're Duck fans. We're here in Oregon. We see the team up close. We've seen I've called Justin Herbert high school games in the past.
Yeah.
So a little bit more directly connected to Justin Herbert than some national host who's based out of Cleveland on the weekend on the Infinity Sports Network. But he was hounding about how he didn't feel that Justin Herbert had the clutch gene. And look, I mean, he had plenty of examples of players in the NFL through the years that have not had the clutch gene. So it's not like he was hounding strictly on Justin Herbert for being this miserable quarterback that doesn't have the clutch gene. He had plenty of examples of quarterbacks in the years the past that haven't. But I kind of – and then I do remember listening to the Bald Faced Truth where they talked about Justin Herbert's had 3 head coaches and 4 offensive coordinators in his time in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, it has just been miserable for the young man. And that's the way I felt about, I mean, look,
that's the Bo Nix story, right?
Well, and that's also what I felt about with Marcus Mariota in Tennessee. Like, he just constantly had a revolving door of coaches and coordinators. Just like, it really does a quarterback or a player's success in the NFL can completely be out of their control sometimes.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look at what happened with Derek Carr. Like, I love Derek Carr, and, you know, he's...
Again, we might be biased on some of this. I know you've got strong connections to the Carr family as well.
I do have strong connections to the Carr family, but also, like, Derek was a really good quarterback for a long time, especially before he got injured and broke his leg in 2016. But, like, same story. Like, how many head coaches, how many offensive coordinators did he have? It's a constant revolving door, and he had to just constantly learn a new system each year. And, you know, Herbert's had to do that too. And I think it was Jim Harbaugh afterwards. He said, you know, if you're selling stock on Justin Herbert, I'm buying it. You know, and I'm buying it too. Like, I would too. Like, he's had 2 playoff games in his career. The first one was against the Jaguars 2 years ago where they blew a lead. It was 30-14, 27-0 they were leading in the first half, and the Jaguars came from behind and won on a last-second field goal. But at the same time, like, you know, like, I wouldn't say that he doesn't have the clutch gene. He was able to have the clutch gene at Oregon. He won the Rose Bowl. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, he won the Red Box Bowl.
I was going to say, he clutched up in that Red Box Bowl. I mean, points were at a premium.
At a premium, and guess what he did? He threw a touchdown. The other team couldn't say they did that.
So, looking at
he won a Pac-12 championship.
For sure. I mean, I think he's got the chance to get there. I think if he can find some stability. It appears that the Jarecki family is not fans of the Harbaughs, but I feel like if he can find some stability with Harbaugh there in Los Angeles, I think he's got a chance.
Have you seen that thing? It's like, I would be a millionaire if I had like a partner that supported me the same way that Jim Harbaugh supports his team. It's like I could come home every day. It's like, look at this guy. Works a 40-hour work week. Like, what an animal. Like, if somebody just like motivated me every day the way that Jim Harbaugh motivates his team, like I would be vastly successful.
All I know is that I've been told now twice by members of the same family that every time a Harbaugh loses, an angel gets its wings.
Yes.
So
that is a signature in the Jarecki household.
Well, I'm starting to realize that. So the Chargers are out. Knight had them going all the way to the AFC Championship game. Elsewhere, we had the Ravens winning. We had the Bills winning over the Broncos. Those were both our picks on that side. So on the other side, we both had the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
You had the Vikings? Yeah, they lose to the Rams. Man, Sam Darnold.
I've never seen a quarterback lose more money than in 2 games of his life. Like, literally, like, right before week 18, 17?
Yeah,
whatever, 18.
Week 18 because you got the bye in
You
there.
have the extra bye. Because it used to be 17 weeks in the NFL season. Now it's 18. They added another game. Anyways, to get back on track, going into that week 18 game, like Sam Darnold was going to be making some money this offseason.
He's been reborn. He's been rejuvenated. Yep. He's going to be a hot commodity. And now
Sunday Night Football, national TV, lays an egg.
Against Detroit.
Okay, it's fine. It's the good Lions team, best season that they've had.
Just had an off game.
It's fine
against the best team
but
probably
then you
in the
replicate that in the postseason. Like, oh gosh.
Yeah, that was ugly. He got sacked 9 times.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was seeing ghosts again.
Oh yeah, that's such a great clip. I've seen that many a times,
dude.
Since.
Like that, and then the Sam Darnold out with mono, like that graphic are like 2 of my favorite all time. I remember that. Dude, we used to make fun of that graphic all the time. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the name? Oregon point guard number 0. He was there forever. Left-handed shooter. Not clicking. Will
Bueller.
No, do you not?
I'm not coming up with the name.
Oregon point guard. Oh my gosh. He got mono too, and we that was like a meme like that. We sent that everywhere in the Oregon channels.
All I can think of is I'm thinking back to my generation where it was Aaron Brooks and
Will Richardson,
Taj Porter. Okay, Will Richardson. Yeah.
Do you not remember the Will Richardson era?
I'm not saying that. No,
dude,
I don't. No,
what?
I don't.
How do you not remember the Will Richardson era? He spent 5 years at Oregon.
Okay. I don't. I'm sorry.
He was 5. Dude, he started 104 games.
Okay.
Where were you from 2018 to 2023? Were you not paying attention to Oregon hoops?
I totally was. Who else was on the team those years?
A lot of people. Like Peyton Pritchard initially, and then Pritchard left, and then you kind of had the Jermaine Couisnard for the last couple of years. You had... oh my gosh, Chris Duarte.
I mean, you're hounding me, and you couldn't remember his name either. So
Eugene Omoruyi.
Yeah, these names I remember,
but not Will Richardson, the guy that started.
You couldn't remember his name either. So don't give me crap.
Oh, come on, but I said Will Richardson, and you were like, "Oh, who's that?"
No, I remember the name.
See, I'm beside myself.
I mean, the name's familiar. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyways, back on track. Football.
You get fired up about the most random things. All right, so then we also had Commanders. Both of us had that picked, and then the Eagles winning over the Packers. So setting up this weekend, the question I was going to ask was just, now that we've seen one round of the playoffs, any changes that you would want to make? Not that I'm going to let you, but any changes that you would have wanted to make?
Yeah.
Besides taking the Chargers all the way to the championship or conference championship
Yeah,
game?
The Texans stand no chance. Give me the Chiefs in this one.
I mean, do you really? Texans didn't look bad against the Chargers.
I don't like the Texans against the Chiefs. I don't think the Chiefs.
I mean, the Chiefs have been resting up. Their biggest thing was just getting healthy.
I like the Chargers against the Chiefs. I don't like the Texans against the Chiefs.
Really?
No, gosh, no. Didn't the Texans just play the Chiefs and the Chiefs beat them pretty good?
It's possible. Sorry, my brain power has been taken up by trying to remember Will Richardson.
They beat them 27-19. The Chiefs were in control in that game, and they were able to win.
Yeah, but see, I mean, look, I'm not taking the Texans either. I wouldn't pick them against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, with this much time to prepare, they're going to be good. I mean, what's the saying? Andy Reid off of a bye. I mean, he's had like a month almost to prepare for this divisional round playoff game against whoever it was going to be, and it'll be the Texans. But the thought going into it on why I think both of us were taking the Chargers was that the Texans just didn't look good down the stretch in the season, and they came out and looked great in that first-round playoff game. So I think they've got a chance to keep it interesting, but no, I'm definitely taking Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. There's no way I'm not taking that until the next round. But for
the most part, I'm pretty confident in my picks. Like I feel pretty good about the Lions beating the Commanders. I feel good about the Eagles.
Well, see, that's the one where I was gonna maybe
pivot,
waffle. I mean, and obviously I had the Vikings in this game, but Matt Stafford and the Rams looked good. Like, I mean, it's easy to me for some reason. It's easy to kind of overlook Matthew Stafford and that team. But their defense was, 9 sacks. You could maybe paint a lot of that on the Vikings and their offensive line and Sam Darnold, but they're getting in the backfield. So I thought the Rams looked really good, and that defense was lights out. I could see them giving the Eagles some issues in a game that's probably going to be a game that's going to be one of the many games that is going to be extremely cold this weekend and played outdoors.
And that's a big factor, too. The Eagles did play the Rams earlier this season. It was a 37-20 win for the Eagles. That's why I just feel like the Eagles can win this game. It was a close game in the third quarter, but the Eagles kind of pulled away, pulling ahead 37-14. Saquon Barkley popped off in that game, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Saquon is so dangerous.
He's so good. Oh, my goodness. Every time I see, this is like a little silly, but you ever walk to a store and you see the poles outside the store,
or maybe the little concrete barrier things to be able to.
Do you ever just want to do a Saquon backwards hurdle over them?
Well, I've never wanted to try and go backwards, but that was before I knew it was humanly possible.
Right?
But yes, totally. Yeah, you jump over you leapfrog over those things all the time. Yeah,
exactly. But imagine that now, that's
doing it backwards.
Do it backwards. That's what the next generation, all the kids You know how many kids the big balls outside of Target?
Yeah.
You know how many kids are Saquon backwards hurdling that?
That was just fantastic.
But that might be the play of the year. But yeah, no,
that's probably the one team I would look at that I might say, I could see them in the conference championship game after this weekend.
I think the Ravens could maybe pull the upset against the Bills. I don't want the Ravens to win. I'm picking Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl this year. Shout out Bills Mafia. But that's the tough one because the way that the Ravens were able to just manhandle the Bills earlier in the season was shocking. I didn't expect that from Buffalo. And after that loss for the Bills, it was week 4. I was like, I don't know about the Bills this season. But they've certainly turned it around. And I think in the same sense, this has been in Buffalo's mind for a long time. The same sense that, Ohio State was thinking about Michigan and trying to get revenge against the Wolverines. I think that Buffalo is thinking about Baltimore and how they're bringing them home to Buffalo in a cold game.
Yeah.
Can Lamar Jackson play in the cold like that? That's left to be determined. How fun, though. Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson.
Oh, man, the matchup is just what we've all
fever
been
dream.
Salivating over, for sure. The weather is going to be a big storyline, and we'll touch on that when we come back as we get ready for these NFL playoff games coming up this weekend. Knight Jarecki, Joey Keeran, hanging out with you here on this Friday afternoon on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving.
For your Score Sports Update, I'm Knight Jarecki. Last night in prep hoops, the Roseburg boys basketball team pulled off a 62-57 road win at Century High School in Hillsboro. The game was back and forth, but the Indians managed to seal the victory with some sharp shooting from the free throw line. Owen Bentia finished with 27 points and reached 1,000 career points for his career. The Riddle boys earned a Skyline League win over Power 72-31, while the Riddle girls lost to Power 71-10. Coming up today, the Oregon Classic Wrestling Tournament gets underway this morning at the Deschutes County Expo Center in Redmond. Roseburg, Sutherland, Glide, and Oakland are all in Central Oregon to compete in the statewide event. The Far West League schedule gets underway tonight for Sutherland, Douglas, Glide, and South Umpqua. The Sutherland Bulldogs host the Siuslaw Vikings. The boys will begin play at 5:30 p.m., with the girls following them at 7 p.m. You can tune in for coverage from the Dog Pound starting at 5:15 p.m. on I-101 FM with Dan Bain on the call. The Glide Wildcats host the South Umpqua Lancers, and the Douglas Trojans head to Coquille. In the Sunset Conference, the Oakland Oakers visit Bandon tonight, and in the Skyline League, Elkton travels to Glendale, Camas Valley visits New Hope Christian, Days Creek hosts Umpqua Valley Christian, and Yoncalla heads to Pacific. The North Douglas boys and girls have a non-league home matchup against Triangle Lake. In college hoops, the Oregon State Beavers went toe-to-toe with number 16 Gonzaga and pulled off a 97-89 upset victory in overtime.
Moving, cleaning services, and 24-hour emergency services. BTB Moving is an affordable, veteran-owned company here to help with your next move. Call 541-315-0122 or find BTB Moving on Facebook. That's BTB Moving for all your moving needs.
At Quality Fence, we know fencing, but that doesn't help us reach our customers the way radio can. Hi, I'm Greg from Quality Fence in Roseburg. Since working with Brook Communications for the past 6 years, we've seen our business continue to grow. They put local businesses first, and they're great to work with every step of the way. So, if you need fencing, come see us at Quality Fence on Northeast Diamond Lake Boulevard. And if you need to grow your business, call Brook Communications at 672-6641 and let them get to work for you.
Fridays are loaded with football this fall on The Score, and you're listening to the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show.
So here's an early look at the Bills-Ravens forecast for Sunday. Now, if you're going out around noontime to start your tailgate, snow showers, temperatures near 20 degrees. Around kickoff, we're in the upper teens. It's going to be cold out there with winds out of the northwest right now around 10 to 20 miles per hour.
Do you enjoy running in the cold weather? Do you think that's better?
I've been asked this question 100 times. I don't care if it's cold, hot, rainy, or snow. I got to do my job.
Oh, that was Derrick Henry there at the end. He doesn't care what the way. He's like the freaking postal service, man. Rain nor sleet nor all the other stuff
I still can't think. Like, what was that kid, Terrion Arnold from Detroit, the Lions cornerback?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I'm from Florida. I ain't supposed to be here.
Yeah. That was also the weather report for the game. That was from back on Monday. I think things have stayed pretty similar, though. WKBW-TV in Buffalo with the weather report that they're saying. I saw some footage from the Bills. Just snow everywhere. Temperatures are supposed to be like 19 degrees at kickoff. It's a 6:30 local time out there kickoff.
Yeah.
And it's going to be 19 degrees at the kickoff of the game. And I can only imagine it's going to be getting a lot colder as that game goes on.
I can tell you some broken tables are in the forecast, some body slams.
It could be 90 degrees. That's happening no matter what.
Some shots of fireball in the parking lot. Yeah, it's going to be brutal. Actually, you know what I saw is this past week I was reading more about the Buffalo Bills' new stadium and the technology that they're using to design
It's going to be a
stadium.
dome, right? Like,
No. It's an outdoor stadium. But what it's going to be is it's going to have like the overhang along like the outside of it. So it's kind of like, it's basically going to be like kind of a dome, but the field is going to be uncovered. But the stands are going to have an overhang
Okay,
over
so
it.
there's going to be like a roof over the stands, but the field itself
is going to be uncovered.
Wow.
So they want to have it outdoors. They don't want a dome because they like
that's what I was thinking is like they always brag about the conditions up there. Why would they build a dome up there?
So what they're going to do is to try to keep the fans warm and to like help them out is they're going to have these like metal beams on the outside that go around the stadium that's supposed to, instead of like the air going through it, it's going to go up over the stadium and it's going to create like an air bubble.
So it's going to vortex.
And so there's going to be like no air. So like kicking there might be like kicking in a dome, but the game's going to be played outside.
The aerodynamics of the stadium will have if there's wind, it'll go over the stadium rather than through the stadium. Interesting.
Exactly. And it's very fascinating how they're trying to do that. And also like the field, like the Packers have their like underground, like heated system.
Yeah. They've got the ground has heated coils, probably running hot water through it.
Yeah. So they're going to have that in Buffalo, but they don't have that right now.
Wow. That's crazy. Now, frozen tundra for sure. Actually, the weather has kind of improved for Buffalo. They're now calling for 22 degrees, according to the CBS Sports app, which yesterday was saying, or no, it was this morning was saying 19 degrees when I was looking at it. 36 in Philadelphia as well for that game. If there was one thing about that matchup, the Rams playing a dome, they're in California, having to go to this in Philadelphia. I wonder how, to me, like you think about that, it's like, oh, the team is based in Los Angeles. Okay, well, the team is based there, and sure, yeah, they practice there and everything. And we talk about this with Miami when they have to go up to like New England and play the Patriots or whatever, warm weather teams going to cold weather climates. But it's like, how many of those guys are from warm weather states? It's like some of these guys maybe have been from the Midwest where they've played in cold weather like this before. It's not just because your team is from there that the players on that team are unfamiliar with what it's like to play in a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody. Like, you go either way.
I mean, there are plenty of NFL players, I'm sure, from states like Arizona or, Texas or down in the South where you're not getting snow like this
Well, I mean, snow in Texas. They just got snow in Texas.
They did just get snow in Texas, and everybody was freaked out about it.
Snowmageddon.
Yeah. Don't mention that. That brings up bad thoughts for folks here in the Roseburg area a couple of years ago. So, yeah, weather going to be taken apart. So, looking at these matchups here this weekend, you've got Kansas City. So, we've made our picks previously. I've got Chiefs and Bills winning this weekend and moving on, and then Lions and Eagles.
I'm taking the Chiefs this week.
Yeah, I think we had the same, right? We were pretty much all the same four
I had the
conference.
Chargers.
Yeah, that's right. You had the Chargers. Yeah. Dang it.
I believed in the duck.
There it is there. But, how about wagering side of things? Kansas City is 8.5-point favorites against Houston right now.
I think they cover.
You think that they covered the 8.5?
Yes.
I did not. I took I have a 4-game parlay going. I got a parlay here. I put together a little bit of action for the weekend, as you would expect.
Cooking in the kitchen.
I was not comfortable with the 8.5-point spread in that one on whether or not Houston was going to keep that game close enough. So I went Kansas City straight on the money line. I did not include the spread on that because I wasn't comfortable with it.
I really couldn't get a read.
Some of
these spreads are like crazy.
Yeah, I really couldn't get a read. If I had to take it, I think I would pick the Chiefs to cover that line. I think that's the more likely scenario, but when it came to putting my actual money on it, I did not want to do it. So I took the Chiefs on the money line in that one. The Ravens and the Bills is tight. If we stay on the AFC side, that's the Sunday evening game. Buffalo is a 1-point underdog at home against the Ravens.
They've spread it now to 1.5 in favor of Baltimore.
Okay, see, that's the number I actually saw was 1.5. Right now, whatever sport, I think it's been kind of between those two numbers, but whatever sportsbook CBS Sports app has it at 1. I took Buffalo plus 1.5 in that matchup.
I like that.
Yeah, I think Buffalo wins outright, and so I think getting the points is just a little bit of icing on the cake on that one.
Let's go, Buffalo.
Other side, you've got the Lions and the Commanders squaring off. That's your Saturday evening game. In that one, Detroit a 9.5-point favorite at home in that contest. And once again, I wasn't comfortable taking the points, or giving the points, I should say, with Detroit. I took Detroit on the money line with my actual money.
I like
that one's a tough one because there are many scenarios I could see. The Commanders this season, so many close games, and they've been on the right side of it in so many of the games. But just the fact that they have been so competitive in so many games, especially down the stretch, just 9.5 felt big. And I think I would take the Commanders and the points.
They only have one game all season
That was decided by that many?
That they've lost by over 9.5.
Wow.
And that was week 1.
Yeah.
Against the Buccaneers. They
Down the
lost
stretch, they've been in every game.
Every game this year, like their losses, 1 point to Pittsburgh, 7 points to Baltimore, 8 points to Philadelphia, 8 points to Dallas. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would, if I was going to bet the spread, I think I would take Washington with the points.
Yeah.
I'd do that too. That's why I wasn't comfortable with that number, because there are too many scenarios in my head where I think the Commanders keep that game close. And I hope they do, because that could be
a fun game.
Everybody's looking at Ravens and Bills. I think that could really be an extremely fun game.
The over at 55.5.
Wow.
Dude, I don't know about you, but the unders have been hitting.
Yeah.
Like every game, the under is
yeah,
hitting.
definitely. There's been a lot of that going on in the NFL as of late. And the wild card round was brutal.
Oh, my God.
Just so brutal. Like, I mean, I'm lucky I got hot here this week and a couple of things outside of the NFL when it comes to my DraftKings account, because that wild card round did me in. I kept expecting offense in every game, and there was nothing.
Yeah, 100. I'm right there with you. I bet like the same way, because I hate betting the under. Like that is my least favorite.
You hate rooting for the under.
I hate rooting for the under. It sucks because at the end of the day, like, I want to be rooting for something. Like, I want to see, like, move the ball down the field.
You don't want to root for things not to happen.
Exactly. I'd rather be happy that they, like, went down the field and got a touchdown and, like, got me the points than to be, like, rooting, no, do not score, go down. Like, that to me isn't fun. That is stressful. For me, I would way rather be like, okay, all he needs is a field goal. Come on. Like,
yeah, totally. I totally agree with you. It is not fun to sweat out the under on some of these. But, man, if you were betting it this last week, it was cashing.
Well.
You were cashing. These games were just brutal last week. I mean, there was a lot of, like, just boring football in the NFL last week. It was just really, I mean, those games allowed you to do other things. You didn't have to pay attention because there just was nothing happening.
The only good game was the Commanders-Buccaneers game.
Yeah.
Like, other than that, like, the Eagles-Packers, like, I was way more focused on Oregon-Penn State men's basketball that day, because that Eagles-Packers game was a little bit of a snooze fest.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Oh, my wife was writing off her Packers by halftime. Yeah.
Yeah. Buffalo just dominated Denver. Like, Bo Nix went down the field, scored that touchdown, and everybody was like...
And we were like, yes, we got a game here.
We got a game.
Let's go Denver.
I know.
And
I was never saying, let's go Denver. Let's be real.
Wow, okay. I mean, I was rooting for Denver to do something to make it an interesting
I was like,
game.
let's go Ducks. Like, Bo Nix to Troy Franklin.
Heck
like,
yeah.
what a way to start that game. And after that, oh my God.
And then the Bills were like, yeah, nice try.
The Bills.
Have fun, Rook.
Hey, I'm gonna put it on the record. The Bills are my second favorite team. Like, I always root for the Bills with the Raiders out of the postseason, and you know.
So you're always rooting for the Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As we covered last week.
Yeah. I have a Bills jersey. Good Paul Plesnewski jersey. Good Pollock. Love supporting him. Yeah. Great Penn State linebacker as well. My cousins had Buffalo Bills season tickets. They're big Bills fans. They're part of Bills Mafia, so I root for the Bills. And so, come on. Do you have a second team? Because
have the Packers. It's Tennessee and Green Bay now. I didn't before, but I do now. So I inherited one via marriage. So,
I'm
let's see.
Sorry about your second team.
I'm not. They're the team I end up rooting for more because they actually do stuff.
I know. That's how I feel. And you know what's funny is, like, the Bills didn't make the postseason for the longest time. Remember when, like, the Bills made the postseason and they were playing the Jaguars, like, the first round? Oh, my gosh. Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback. That's how long ago it was. And I remember how big of a deal that was because stores in Florida would not sell you a folding table if you had a New York license plate or like had a license from New York. They were like, well, no, we are prohibiting this because they were afraid too many Bills fans were going to jump through them and break them.
I mean, if you're selling it to them and whatever they do with it,
I know.
And then, you know, hey, that's your own prerogative. If you want to break your own table, you know, if you already got your money because somebody paid for it, what do you care what they do with it? All right, so where did we leave off here? We had Lions and Commanders. I would take the Commanders. I'd be comfortable doing that if I had to, I guess I should say, because I wasn't comfortable doing it in reality with my own money.
Yep.
Then you got the Eagles and the Rams, and I took Eagles -6 is the number I got.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel like that's the number it currently is. Didn't I? Oh, no, it is. It is still
right
6.
now.
Okay.
ESPN has 6.5.
Okay. I got Eagles -6, and I think, yeah, I was talking about the Rams earlier and how I kind of like, if I were to change something, like I might be willing to take the Rams in this matchup, and now I look at the fact that I took the Eagles -6. For some reason, when I laid that bet, I was really confident on Philadelphia to win this game comfortably.
I would pick Eagles.
-6?
Yeah.
6.5?
I believe in the Eagles at home. With those fans, I think it's going to be brutal. And I'm just not very high on the Rams. Like, I don't know. Like, I get it.
I kind of keep feeling like you doubt them at your own peril. Like it feels like they
it's
are
like
going to...
It's the Notre Dame thing.
Yeah, they're going to be the team that just continues to be like, all right, cool. You don't think we can do it? Like, I mean, this is a team with experience. They've been able to win in the postseason before. Matt Stafford's... I mean,
well, you know what's crazy is I saw a thing today. Like Sean McVay's won as many postseason games now as Mike Tomlin,
and he's coached 10 less years.
Yeah,
I saw that same stat. That is crazy for sure. So it's. For some reason, I got this nagging thought now in the back. I've talked myself into thinking that the Rams would have a chance in this one, but I took the Eagles -6, so I'm going to ride with that guess there on Philadelphia, because I thought the same thing as you did. Like I really thought that the Eagles would be dominant in this one. I thought 6 wasn't enough, and but now I've kind of talked myself out of it.
Nah, after Saquon ran for 255 against the Rams, I feel pretty good about it.
Well, they've got that game up there. Eagles 179.3 rushing yards per game this season.
Yeah, because Saquon.
Yeah, dude has just been crazy. Weather, could be a factor in that one. Could be a factor in the Buffalo game. It'll be interesting. I think they're expecting snow for both of those.
Yeah, dude. They just showed like the
backwards hurdle.
Well, no, they showed Saquon's 78-yard run against the Rams, and he's just like, he's a freak. Just one cut, gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'll never forget. I was at the
that Saquon run last week. That he took the knee?
Oh, that cost me money.
Same here.
Dude, that cost me money.
You, me, everybody.
Everybody.
Oh, my
I was like, oh, come on.
So
brutal.
brutal.
Dude, I live bet Josh Jacobs touchdown and then had Saquon touchdown as well. And
Yep. I had the same. I had a Saquon touchdown bet on that one, and I think everybody did, and we all watched that, and we're like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah, dude. I'll never forget going to the 2016 Fiesta Bowl, Penn State versus Washington, and we were sitting in the end zone, and Saquon ripped like an 88-yard run, and we were sitting in the corner of the end zone. And just seeing him run like right to us, like in this corner of the end zone, like he just is like, phew. Like, he got there so fast. Like, when you watch him in person, it is remarkable to look at Saquon Barkley. And just, like, the other thing, like, his thighs are just huge. Like, he is a man amongst men. It's like Derrick Henry. Like, you got trade truck dunk stuff.
They got Derrick Henry on the TV here in the studio now, too. And, yeah, that should be.
Yeah.
You would think that these conditions in that cold is going to set up for both of those running backs and those teams that run heavily to have success in that environment coming up this weekend. It should be fun. Again, so you know, the schedule is Saturday. We've got the first game of the NFL playoffs on the radio, 1 o'clock start time, Houston and Kansas City for you here on The Score. And then on Sunday, we will have both NFL playoff games for you, starting at 11:30 with the Rams and the Eagles. And then after that one's done, we go to coverage of the Ravens and the Bills. So if you need your NFL fix, we've got it for you on the radio. Listen to the games on the 541 Radio app and on 541radio.com as well. We should get to a break here. I did want to Dan Patrick was talking about it this morning. When it involves the Raiders, I'm going to bring up my local expert. I know there are tons of Raider fans out there as well, so maybe they've got some thoughts on this. Plus we may or may not have time. If I'm going to have Knight talk about the Raiders, I'm guessing we're going to run out of time. But the NFL is just, I just, part of me wonders if they're just getting just too big. Too much. We'll discuss. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. It's the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show presented by BTB Moving here on The Score.
Hi, this is Roger from ChargingAdventures.com at 672-3333. Do you like the number 3? I have just 3 questions for you. Number 1, do you own a business? Number 2, do you like attracting extra customers to your business? Number 3, would you consider drawing in customers who own electric vehicles? If you answer yes to all 3 questions, I've got a deal for you. ODOT has an amazing rebate program that can install electric vehicle chargers at your business. The qualifications are simple. Number 1, your chargers must be accessible for at least 60 hours a week. That works out to 3 times 3 times 3 times 2.23. Number 2, they must be available to the general public. Number 3, you must have a minimum of a pair of chargers. 3 would be even better. Can you give me 3 reasons why you would not want to do this? If you meet these 3 easy requirements and want to bring in more customers, give me a call. I'll give you all the details. This is Roger from ChargingAdventures.com. Reach me at 672-3333. That's 672-3333.
Unleash low prices for the whole pack right now at your local Coastal.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, with just what the country needs.
Stay warm while you work this season with 40% off select last chance fall apparel and winter outerwear. Plus, save 20% off all household heaters from top brands like Visionaire and Beyond Heat. Stop by our pet department for $3 off bags of Heartland Harvest cat food. And don't forget to keep bellies full in the hen house. Stock up on poultry feed and save $2 off bags of Country Select Layer Crumble, Layer Pellets, and Scratch Grains. Shop in-store or online from January 15th through the 21st for these savings and even more on pet and home essentials.
Coastal Farm and Ranch, with just what the country needs.
Shop now for savings from your porch to your pasture.
At Midas, you'll find all the expertise you need to take care of your car. From advanced engine diagnostics and major repairs to oil changes, brakes, and maintenance. You can count on Midas to tell you what needs fixing now and tell you what stuff can wait. So whether your check engine light just went on or you remembered that it's time for your regularly scheduled oil change, now's the time to head over to your locally owned and operated Midas on 1068 Northeast Stevens in Roseburg. Because when your car isn't working right, you just need someone who can help make your life a little easier. Trust the Midas touch.
Struggling to find good help? Streamline your recruitment all in one place. Lotus Media Group. With our innovative and time-tested solutions, you can reach candidates across all platforms by utilizing the power of print, radio, and digital advertising and elevate your hiring game with Indeed, Google Jobs, ZipRecruiter, and over a dozen more. Whether you're a small or large business, we have flexible pricing packages to fit any budget. Indeed, we do. Visit nrtoday.com/recruitment and let us do all the work for you.
Chilling at the tailgate party, getting ready for the games. This is the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving.
Our friends at BTB Moving will help you out if you've got a move coming up in your future. Maybe you just need to put some stuff into storage, or you need to move a piano from point A to point B, or you bought a new home and you're packing things up and moving as well. BTB Moving provides the labor services for your moving needs. Veteran-owned, affordable, dependable, efficient, and careful. They've got senior and veteran discounts available. Book now at 541-315-0122, or you can find them on Facebook at BTB Moving. All right, I was up getting ready for the day, had the Dan Patrick Show on, and caught this little nugget from the DP Show.
Vegas is the place that Vegas thinks that Aaron Rodgers is going to go. Yeah. The Raiders are the favorites for Aaron Rodgers. And I was a little bit surprised. Well, we brought this up here. Can you get him to come in as your bridge quarterback? Would Tom Brady entertain that as the new owner of the Raiders?
He says that at the end, minority owner of the Raiders, not totally ownership there for Tom Brady. But, yeah, how do you feel about that? You want Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback next year to maybe bridge the gap to something else?
No. Why get Aaron Rodgers when we have the next
That's the
Aaron
exact
Rodgers?
question I'm thinking.
When we have the next Aaron Rodgers and Aiden O'Connell already on the roster. I mean, you got AR-12. We got AOC 12, that's what we got. Actually, you want to hear what I discovered this weekend? Not discovered, but actually thought about, and it made a lot of sense for me. Was I'll give you a backstory. So, 2020, COVID happens, right? And there's not a lot of sports going on the TV. And in the fall of 2020, moved to Oregon. Like first week living in Oregon, we're at an Airbnb. Me and my family before we moved into our house in Sweet Home. So we're in Eugene at an Airbnb. And right around this week, the Bishop Sycamore game happens. Bishop Sycamore, the fake high school that ended up playing IMG on national TV. Well, I think either right after that game or the week after, they had another high school football game because they were starting to air high school football games because certain states were allowing high school football games to be on TV. One of the games that happened was a Corner Canyon high school game against Bingham, and it was two Utah high schools going at each other. And I turned on the game because, A, football was on, and I wanted to watch football, but also, B, Corner Canyon had a kid named Jackson Light, formerly Jackson Light, now Jackson Powers Johnson, who was committed to Oregon as an offensive lineman, wanted to see what this kid was about. So he's playing in this game, I'm watching it, and it's the first game of the season, or second game of the season for this high school. Corner Canyon, like a brand new high school, but they produced a lot of NFL talent at this point. Like Zach Wilson went to Corner Canyon and then has gone on and been a good player. Well, I'm paying attention to the center, but the quarterback's captivating me. Who's the quarterback? Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart transfers to Corner Canyon that year. He was a 3-star recruit. It looked like he was going to go to ASU. Ended up playing that season for Corner Canyon after transferring there for his final year, and he just lit it up. He ended up rising to the 7th overall quarterback in the country, depending on which recruiting site you're looking at.
Yeah.
He was named the Utah Gatorade High School Player of the Year after throwing for 4,691 yards, 67 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, and ran for another 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns. Got him National Gatorade Player of the Year, commits to USC, transfers to Ole Miss. He's going to be a Raider. Jackson Powers Johnson was his center. Get the connection back. Like, I'm telling you that Jackson...
It took a while to get there. I was like, where is this going, and how does this relate to the Raiders again? But okay.
Because Jackson Powers Johnson...
Yes.
That's his guy. Like, he was his center in high school, and, like, those two... And if you know anything about JPJ, like, he's a recruiter. Like, he loves recruiting his own guys. He was a big fan of Bo Nix. Like, if Bo Nix was available, JPJ would be the type of guy, like, I'm going to war for that guy.
Yeah.
I think he'd probably do the same for Jackson... for Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Jackson Powers Johnson, Jackson Dart. A couple of Jacksons.
I mean, come on.
I know. But that's what I came to the realization too, and that's what I want. Like, I want the Raiders to draft Jackson Dart.
So that is your target now in the upcoming NFL draft.
Here's what I want. I want the Raiders to draft Ashton Genty, pick number 6. If they can trade down to the Cowboys, if Shadur's available at number 6, and you guys draft Cam Ward at number 1, whatever the situation is, trade with the Cowboys. Drop down, draft Genty at number 12, wherever it is. But I want Genty in the first round, Jackson Dart in the second round. Raiders would look a lot better offensively if we could have that combo. Get JPJ, his quarterback, back. Get the Raiders a quarterback who has kind of flown under the radar. I like Jackson Dart a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, because he wasn't in the college football playoff. But I think that, he has the talent, and if you look at just like statistically what he's done across his career, like I like it. So he would be my pick.
All right. So no Aaron Rodgers.
No Aaron Rodgers
to come in and try to train up the, because what Aaron Rodgers loves to do is be the mentor for young quarterbacks that come into the league. I mean, that's just right up his alley.
Yeah,
right?
he just loves it.
That's why I was thinking, like, what makes sense about Aaron Rodgers coming to a program to try and be the bridge to the next guy? He's already shown he does not enjoy that.
Is this just a ploy to get Devontae back?
Do they need? I
don't even think we want Devontae
move
back.
on.
Like,
Yes,
move on.
exactly.
This is what I'm tired of. I'm tired of the cancer. My dad is like all in on the Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. Like, he's like, we need Pete Carroll. He's gonna get the Raiders going in the right direction. I'm like, Dad, he's like gonna be like in a retirement home in 5 years. Like, come on, man. Like, I can't deal with this. Like, I can't deal with the constant turnover. Maybe, he leads to some sex for like 2 years, 3 years, but like at that point you're still getting a new coach. I don't want that. Like, get me someone young. Get me a quarterback like Jackson Dart to develop. Ben Johnson, Jackson Dart, that combo with Ashton
Yeah.
Genty as the running back, I think you get something.
Yeah.
You got something rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, you got something moving in the right direction. So what? Vrabel is the only head coach that's been hired so far.
Pretty quiet.
In this, yeah.
It feels like every year it's like fast. Like it's like we're grabbing. But
And-
I don't know if it's different because like I feel like Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are like the top two guys that a lot of teams want.
yeah.
And like Liam Combs kind of been like
And
tossed
so
in
they're
there.
waiting for
waiting
these-
for their season to end.
I see the Cowboys were supposedly doing a virtual interview with Kellen Moore this afternoon.
Yeah.
And so, another guy that's currently coaching with a team in the postseason still.
He has obviously
so-
Dallas ties. He was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that because I kind of forgot that you guys were on the coaching market there for a second. And so you were mentioned that, and I was thinking, boy, it feels like it's been a quiet market on, that things have been quiet on the coaching front, that everybody is interviewing about 50 different candidates for their coaching positions that are coming up. So yeah, that'll definitely be something to watch. Games coming up this weekend in NFL. That should be a lot of fun. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers lands in Las Vegas. I mean, why not? He could get access to all the ayahuasca.
I can give you tons of reasons why
Get
not.
all the ayahuasca he wants there in Las
my
Vegas,
gosh.
I'm sure. Hopefully you guys enjoy the games. Hopefully we get some good ones out of these. We'll have plenty to talk about. Don't forget National Championship game coming up on Monday at 4:30, and that should be a fun one. We will recap that. We will talk about what are going to be our conference championship matchups after the playoff games this weekend. We'll have that to discuss coming up on next week's show. So a lot to get into in 1 week's time when we are back on the air next Friday. And then we'll be looking forward to those conference championships coming up following that. Looking forward to all of it. I hope you guys enjoy the games this weekend. Hope you've enjoyed our couple of hours with you talking football here on The Score. Knight, have a great weekend, man. Appreciate everything. Good luck to you. I know you're going to fire up some sort of wager, so good luck to you.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck on everything coming up. All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Umpqua Basin Tailgate Show, presented by BTB Moving. Whether it's across town or across the state, moving is always a chore. So let BTB Moving help with your next move. BTB Moving is a labor-only company offering statewide services, such as packing and unpacking,